Laura. Oh, I'm so glad you're okay. So, your memory isn't too clear either, is it? I bet it's because we were forced out of hypersleep. Girl, I was expecting to wake up and see the clear blue sky of Earth. Hey, you saw it too, right? Well, I guess you really wouldn't say saw. Maybe feel is more like it. I'm telling you, something is moving around this ship. Something is happening. I wonder what's gonna happen to us. Anyway, our first priority is to establish communication with the other 5 crew members.
Welcome, everyone, back to Let's Play Enemy Zero. We've met up with Kimberly, and we're all very happy that we're all okay. And now she said that our main priority is to make communication with... Oh, did she say the other 5 crew members? Oh, Kim. We have something to tell you. Well, we can't actually tell her directly. Can't actually talk to her. I can look around her room. Not a whole lot to look at here. And there's like a skateboard, which I don't know where you'd use that here. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of space for it. Now Laura's just going to change her mind about going out. And this door doesn't work at all. So I guess we need to do something in here. Though the only thing we can actually interact with is the video phone. Well, Kimberly did say that the main priority is to make communication with the other crew members. And by the way, speaking of communication, let's hear Laura communicate her thoughts on what's going on right now.
Voice record number 016, Laura Lewis. I've come out of the duct and reunited with Kimberly. Kimberly is also in a state of uncertainty regarding the present situation.
Well, let's educate Kimberly on the present situation, because we know what it is. We've been out and about. We've been in the world. We've seen it. Alright, first, I guess we should make contact with Captain Ron, see what he wants us to do.
Ronnie. It's so awful.
Oh no, Captain Ron! He'll never give us advice again. He'll never give us the worst advice again. Yeah, so Captain Ron does eventually die. I think he will always die by the time we get here. But if we were playing on normal or hard, he would die sooner, so he could give us less hints. What does George think about all this? Nope, George still doesn't care. Still watching his Narutos. Alright, so we're down from 5 crew members to make communication with to 4. Let's talk to David.
Laura. You're not harmed. Thank goodness. Guess you're tough enough to manage without me after all. I got hit pretty hard from that earlier jolt. The summer tower is relatively safe for now. Doesn't look like I'll be too mobile with these injuries. Could you maybe arrange it so you'll be able to head over this way?
Good thing he's all right, isn't it, Laura? You know, girl, he really is a pretty dependable man. You could rely on him, you know what I mean?
I don't think I do know what you mean, girl. I mean, he just said that he can't leave his room, so maybe we should go over to where he is. I don't know what you were listening to. Let's, well, at least we were able to make contact with David. He's not doing too well. Apparently the impact that the ship had that released the enemy, apparently that he got some kind of injury from it, so he's not moving around much for right now. Let's, well, we can't talk to Laura because there's no one in her room. Or is there? No, there's no one in the room. That was silly. Why did I even try? Alright, Kimberly, it's time. I have something very disturbing to show you. No reaction, Kim? Nothing for Mercus? Ronnie got a, oh, that's horrible. Nothing for Mercus. Seems sometimes like we're the only ones who care about Mercus. And, oh yeah, there's also Parker.
Parker! Oh, please, Parker! Ah! You know, I just had this dream. I was gonna tell you about it just as soon as we reached Earth. Oh my god. No. Can't be true. I must still be dreaming. But it was such a wonderful dream, and now this. Laura, you knew about me and Parker, right? Why? How can this be? There's no way you'll ever understand. Your lover, David, is still alive.
Well, I mean, it's true. Obviously, Kim needs time to grieve. We don't have too much time, but we'll leave her alone for right now. Well, of the 5 crew members that we needed to get in contact with, we made contact with a 1. That's not bad, right? So, alright, this is kind of a weird thing. Now, I mentioned before that this game kind of likes to sort of pad out the length by making it a little, maybe unclear as to what to do sometimes. So, I mean, Kimberly just ran off. Let's follow her, right? Or not. Maybe we won't follow her. Maybe we should look around the room and look for something else. Except we already did look around the room and there was nothing here. We could try going out the other door. No, Laura still doesn't want to go out the other door. There's really nothing else to look at. Nothing to interact with. So, I mean, the only thing we can look at, I guess, is the video phone. Back to that. Oh, and by the way, I guess we should listen to what Laura's thoughts on the current situation are.
Voice record number 017, Laura Lewis. I've reunited with Kimberly. From Kimberly's quarters, we contacted David via video phone. We were able to confirm that he is alive, although he has sustained minor injuries. In addition, we made a positive identification of Ronnie's corpse via video phone.
I like the idea that Laura's just standing here in front of the video phone talking to herself. She never talks when anyone else is around. Just when she's alone. That's when she's comfortable. So, alright, what do we do now? Do we call David back? Well, if we called him back right now, he would just say the same things that we already saw. So, what do we do? Well, there are some other things in the video phone we can look at. We might remember that there's the database, there's the crew data, and there's also the personal file down here in which, whenever we look at this, it's always disconnected. Except right now, Kimberly's is the only one that works, and looks like she has a very low-resolution JPEG, photo.06. Okay, there's Kim and Parker in happier times, happier, more alive times, We can also see Laura and David in the back there. Now that we've seen that picture, hey, maybe we should call back David. I don't know. Just seems like a thing to do, I guess. Because probably at this point you would have exhausted any and all other options on what to do. So let's call David back.
Hey. Oh, so you do remember me. I thought you were going to be so cold as to pretend to have forgotten about me again. You know that even back on Earth, you hardly ever called me. If it hadn't been for this situation, there probably wouldn't have been any hope of you and I getting together. Maybe for us. This was a fortunate accident. Laura, as long as you reach out for me. I want to be there to support you. I really want to see you. I'm waiting.
Hey, Laura, why don't we go to the summer tower? Look, I'm sorry about losing it earlier, but there's no point in being emotional at a time like this. I'm sure Parker would be upset if I gave up now. If we go to the summer tower and hook up with David and George, we might be able to pull something off. But, Laura, in order to get there, there's something you must do for me.
Sure, Kim. We'll do anything for you. Just as long as it doesn't involve green pills and plant monsters, which I'm sure it won't. And Kimberly has now at long last learned the ultimate truth. There is no point to emotions. Just live your life like a robot. What's there worth living for now that Parker's gone? Only survival. Only animalistic survival. We're on the end of Disc 2. Time to move on to Disc 3, in which we find out what it is that Kimberly will need from us. Give me a moment.
We can get to the summer tower from the emergency bridge. There's a nuclear reactor there, so we can't go shooting off the wrong weapons. Laura, when it comes to taking on the enemy in combat, I know what to do. Tell me, do you know what the most crucial thing is? It's to stare your enemy in the eyes and never, ever look away. Just like taking care of a baby. That's right. This time, our enemy is nothing but a spoiled little brat. Up ahead, it's crawling with those creatures, the enemy. You stay here, okay? The door up ahead at the end of the corridor won't open unless the password is entered into this computer. The password is written in the front of the door, so I'll go up there and take a look. When I get there, I'll transmit the password. Stay here and open the door. Don't worry, it's fine. This is personal. Yeah. I want to finish them off with my own bare hands. Let's do it. You know, my husband Parker kept this little blue canary in his room on Earth. Imagine a guy with his face cuddling a canary. Pretty funny, huh? Whenever he woke up in the morning, the first thing he always did was stand in front of the bird cage by the window and feed his bird. With those massive hulking hands of his, he would gently give it food. When we got this mission, he was so upset over being separated from his bird. He broke down and cried. You would never think he was like that, huh? We ended up taking the bird outdoors and letting him go, but Parker had regrets. He said that maybe we had let go of our little blue bird of happiness. Hey, let's drop it. I shouldn't go on like this. Parker wouldn't. So it's you. You killed him, didn't you? Where are you?
Well, that could have gone better. And we also found out that Kimberly has some very interesting ideas about childcare. Anyway, which way should we go? Well, it's coming from one of these directions. Well, which way we have to go? You know, the thing about this maze, if we hug a wall, it won't work. We'll just come right back around eventually to the entrance. So where do we go? Well, were you paying attention as to where Kimberly went on that video screen? You better have been, because that's where we need to go. We need to follow her footsteps. Otherwise, you're never going to find where the exit is. Which is an interesting thing. The exit's kind of in the center of the maze instead of along the wall. So hugging the walls won't work. Ah, the glory of space. Kimberly forgot the first rule of combat. Stare your enemy in the eye, just like a baby. I mean, I'm not gonna contradict her ideas on childcare. It's not like I have much experience in that myself. But anyway, here's a door. The door was torn apart, so I guess we don't need that password after all. Well, things just seem to be getting worse and worse. Kimberly is missing or dead, but at least we have her gun. Laura still has trouble understanding locks. Didn't have trouble stealing this gun, though. It's fully loaded, too, so hey, make the best of a bad situation, I guess. Speaking of the bad situation, let's hear Laura's thoughts on it.
Voice record number 018, Laura Lewis. During the execution of a joint operation with Kimberly, Kimberly was attacked by the enemy on the emergency bridge. I immediately headed towards the area, but unfortunately lost sight of her. It has not been determined whether or not she is alive.
Still doesn't look good. There was blood all over the place, and she left her gun. And that heavy door just closed behind us, so you know if Kimberly is back there, doesn't seem like she's gonna get through there. Laura is just making sure it's actually made of metal. You know, it could be a fake. Could be a papier-mâché door. She just has to confirm. Laura is a tactile learner. She learns by touching. All right, here's an elevator. It works in a way that no elevator would work. We can't actually push these numbers. There are 3 switches, and we manipulate these switches to form 8 numbers, 0 through 7. So what do the switches mean? Well, we know that if the first one's down, the second one up, third one down, that must mean we're on 2. We could try reversing these and see what happens, because we're going to need to figure out what the values of these switches are if we want to use this elevator. Alright, so when we reverse the switches, we got 5. Let's see where that takes us. Now, as we went through that hallway that had the heavy door, that took us from the winter tower to the summer tower. So our other crewmates should be somewhere around in this tower. Laura's learning. She didn't slam her fist against it this time. Just gently touched it.
Laura, I was worried about you. You look a bit dazed. Did you bump your head? The others? Well, we still haven't re-established communication, but there are more fatalities. Laura, just think of your own safety, and you'll be fine. It's not a good idea to venture out, but I am programming a key disk for the Fall Tower access. Wait for me a bit. Listen, those enemy monsters are vicious. Don't even think about trying to fight with them.
So if we remember the crew bios, this is George. Yep, hanging out at his computer, torrenting all kinds of animes, I wager. He says that he was worried about us, but if that's the case, why didn't you answer your phone, George?
What? Yes. Why don't you go check on how David is doing?
Just brushing me off, pretending like he didn't do anything wrong. Well, he says he's busy making a key to the Fall Tower, and we're going to need to get in there, so I guess we should just leave him be with his computer, downloading, you know, the stuff that he's into. So, since this is the first time we've been in the Summer Tower, we should have a look at the maps. We can get an idea of what are on these different floors. Yep, we're returning to Earth. And hopefully we can get rid of this pest problem before we do. Alright, we're on floor 5, we're in the George room, and David room is right across. I mean, David said that he wanted us to come where he was. We did, and his door's locked. So that's just rude is what that is. Almost as rude as George never picking up his phone. The 6th floor has a maze with a power room at the end of it. 7th floor, oh, there's the Ronnie room. And of course, we know what the status of Ronnie is, but at least we know where his room is. He is the captain, so maybe there's something interesting in his room. Going down, okay, we can't go into the payload bay. It's not for humans. Neither is the tank area. That's where we came from the Winter Tower. And, okay, floor 1 is to the Fall Tower. However, we need a key to get in there, and that's what George is working on. And again, the ship has a basement somehow. I don't know how. Apparently the only thing in that basement is a maze and a storeroom. That seems inconvenient for a storeroom. Why would you even put it there? You have to go all the way down to the basement and through the maze to get there. Who would store anything in that? Anyway, let's go talk to David. We know he's in the other room, so, I mean, keeping the door locked is not going to help. George has his own gun charger in here as well, but he doesn't have a gun. Does he, Mercus? Only Mercus and Laura know what happened to George's gun. Alright, Dave better have a good explanation for why he's keeping his door locked.
Laura. Your hair got mussed. There's a small ship docked at Fall Tower. We'll escape on that. Was George in his room? I hate to, but we should run this by him as well. I'll go and check on him. Oh, you need to know. There's a vital concern in regards to escaping from here. It's about you and me. I'll tell you when I get back. It's okay.
Well, that's just romance. That's what that is. Previously, we watched the trailer for the original version of D2, and while we could see that the game was going to be very different from the Dreamcast D2, it really didn't tell us much about what the story of the game was going to be about. So what was the story of D2 going to be? Well, according to Kenji Eno, basically, the story begins about a year after D. Laura's on a plane somewhere, and she's pregnant. Actually, the story starts before this, during the Middle Ages. There was a feudal lord in Transylvania who desperately wanted a child to take over his country. He believed in the local superstitions that said you could have a child by sacrificing people by impaling them on stakes. The local people began to call him the Impaler King. Of course, this was nothing but superstition, and he had no child. When his wife died, he became so desperate that he learned black magic and summoned the devil. He begged the devil to give him a child, that he would sacrifice his own life for one. The devil agreed and left Transylvania. The scene will change to the one I was telling you about before, the plane in 1997. The devil appears, surrounds the plane, and tries to crash it. Then he kidnaps Laura's baby. You can tell the baby disappears because Laura's stomach becomes hollow. I think Laura dies in the plane too. The scene changes back to the Middle Ages and the crying of the baby fades in. That's the opening story. The main character of the game is Laura's child. When the child grows up, the devil returns to Transylvania and comes calling for the Impaler King's life and destroys the castle. The child then takes off for the adventure to kill the devil. So the story of the original D2 was going to be a lot different from what we got in the Dreamcast version, and apparently the game was not going to star digital actress Laura, but rather she was going to have a digital child.